There we go. All right, so good morning, and we will just have a couple of blocks today. And we will start sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. Coming onto your mat. Holding those legs in. And then even though we're sitting here on the floor, sitting here in the yoga pose. Making this simple sitting on the floor something else by bringing your attention more to the shape you're sitting in. By feeling your breath, sending that through the body. And then here we are, giving a little lift up from the arms, or maybe from holding the knees if that works better for you. And whatever swinging and shifting you want to do. And finishing with that, letting the hands rest on the knees. Inhale and exhale, letting go of the rest of the day, just being here in your body with your breath. Taking a brief acknowledgement, or making a brief acknowledgement of all the other things that are maybe here with you today. But you don't need them for the next hour and 15 minutes or so. You just need your body, you just need your breath. You just need that focus on your body and your breath. And then we will reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing the arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down. Then we'll breathe the arms up again and bringing the hands together and down the center line. Thumbs coming into the sternum, shoulders and elbows a little down and back, upper chest lifting. Softening or closing the eyes, bringing your attention even more inside yourself. And we'll take one home together, starting with a deep and easeful inhale. And let the head bow forward. Release the hands, putting the backs of the hands on the knees. And slowly lift the head and open the eyes. And then we will change the cross of legs. Reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips, and we'll breathe up through the right arm. So I'm being the right left mirror at the moment, into the side, bend over to the left. And then a big inhale and exhale, reaching on to the left diagonal. Long stretch along that right side, pulling that right sitting bone down and back. And coming to the center. And then coming up, unfurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bone. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones. We'll breathe up through the left arm, up and over to the right. And a big inhale. And exhale, reaching with that left arm on a long diagonal to the right. And then walking the hands to the center. Evening out the two sides. Coming up, unfurling the spine up onto the sitting bones. Inhale and exhale here in this moment with your body and with your breath. Maybe just observing with friendly curiosity what other things are still there that you don't need really. The thoughts and feelings, all that stuff. And then turn your focus back to the body and the breath. And then let's come around onto all fours, kneeling, and we'll do a few cats and cows. Breathing into your spine, putting any little variations in there forward and back, maybe circling around. As you're doing this, just being aware of how much weight are you pressing down into the base of the wrist. You don't really need to press a lot of weight there. This is a good opportunity to work on pressing into the knuckles and into the fingertips a little bit more. All right, and then we will finish with that rippling, finding the neutral spine, long line from the top of the head to the tailbone. And then extending the left leg back with the toes tucked under, pressing back into that left heel. Long line from the top of the head out the left heel, doing half a plank there on our left side. And then picking up the right thigh if you want, making the left leg stretch a little more. Setting the right knee down, and this time we're going to lift the left leg up. So try to keep it very parallel. Feel the inner thigh lifting a little bit more to the ceiling. Reach through the heel, lift the left leg. Pull the belly and the ribs even more up against the spine. Even if your leg doesn't go very high, try to keep as straight a line as you can from the top of the head out the left heel. If you can peek back at your toes, are they facing the floor there? And then we'll let that knee bend and lifting the left toes up in the big cow back arch in the back, arching up. And then setting the left knee down, taking a nice long pull back in child's pose for a few breaths. And then come back up onto all fours, and we'll extend the right leg back, pressing into the heel. And if you'd like, lifting the left thigh up for a few breaths, making that right leg stretch longer. And setting the left knee down. So here we go, lifting the right leg up. Feel that right inner thigh. Feel that right big toe stay pointing to the floor as you lift the leg up. Pull the belly and ribs a little more strongly up into the spine. So your leg might not even be parallel to the floor here. It'd be a little diagonal down. And feeling that contraction right there at the back crease of the hip joint. Back of the thigh working a little more, gluteus maximus, a little less obviously than when we more indulgently lift that right leg, which we will do now. Pulling it up, bending the knee, lifting the upper chest up. And then setting the right knee down. Nice long pull back in child's pose. And then we will come up, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And as usual, walking the dog or anything else you want to do, but maybe just being here in stillness for a few breaths. If you're someone who's always in a rush to move, and if you're following me and you're in this stillness here, maybe we'll do a little dog walking now. And then finishing up with whatever you're doing, being in the best downward facing dog of this moment, nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling up to the sitting bones, exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And then we will look between the hands to jump or step forward. And into the concave back halfway up. Letting yourself come up as high as you need to. Feel those collarbones pulling forward. Back muscles engage a little. Then reaching the collarbones a little more forward. And folding yourself back over. With as much bend in the knees as you need at this point. Sometimes a little deliberate bend and then re-extend can get you a little deeper into the forward bend. And then we'll take a single breath concave back. Inhale, extending out. Exhale, pouring over. And then coming back up to standing. Big front body yawn. And pressing the arms down, long through the top of the head, circling the shoulders. 3, 2, and 1. And then we'll go the other direction. 1, 2, and 3. One more, front to the back. And interlocking the fingers behind, lift the chest to lift the chin. And then coming forward and over, pressing out through the hands. Squeeze the upper arms a little more toward each other. And then releasing the hands. And concave back, folding over. And then you can jump or step back through whatever version of the vinyasa you want to do at this point, downward facing dog. And there we are, downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the right heel, reaching down through the left. And then we're going to take a lower and lift with that right leg, reaching the right leg down, big toe to the left heel, and then stretching that right leg back up. Bending the knee, dog at the high fire height. And through to the lunge. And we'll bring the left knee down, the Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. And so maybe you've heard me say big circle of breath 1,000 times or more. And then see, is that really happening? And then really carry those arms around in a big circle and back overhead with your breath. And Namaste in front. And then we'll bring the hands to the floor and hinge back in the runner stretch, flexing the right foot, pulling the ball of the foot back, pulling up the right leg, pulling the hips back. And then reaching through the right foot to the lunge. And we're going to come up in a supported warrior 3. So getting your blocks or block, put them on the highest height, and then lifting up. So we're trying to keep that left leg really parallel. Maybe you can go look back at the toes. Big toe faces the floor, inner left thigh going up a little more than the outer. Trying to be a long line against the ceiling from the top of the head to the left heel. Pull the belly and the abdominal muscles up against the spine. Reach a little longer through the left heel. Reach a little longer through the top of the head. And then we'll bend the right knee, taking the left leg under, coming down into mat sitting and Andrasana with the right leg crossed over. And along through the top of the head, and we'll twist to the right. Inhale and exhale. And coming back to the center, disentangling those legs up into the forward bend. And concave back halfway up, folding over, jumping or stepping back through the Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And we'll do that around on the left side. Lifting the left leg up, reaching down through the right heel at the same time. And then we'll lower the left leg, reaching it long and down. Reaching it long and up. Bending the knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge. And bringing the left knee down. And Jayasana. And really feeling that circle of breath. Or maybe notice you're not really feeling it, so just think about it, the think method. And breathing those arms around. And Namaste in front. And then hands to the floor, we'll hinge back in the runner's stretch, really using the muscles, pulling the ball of the left foot back, pulling up through the left leg, pulling the hinge of hip joints back. Reaching through the left foot to roll back up to the lunge, and then we'll come up in our supported warrior 3 here. Getting a block or blocks, or maybe you're doing tippy fingertips on the floor. And coming up. So unlike the standing split here, we're thinking long and flat rather than over. So even if your hands are on the floor and your torso is a big diagonal, make it a diagonal. Don't drop the head and round the back. Try to extend it long, kind of thinking of the concave back. And then that inner right thigh is pressing up a little more than the outer. Belly and ribs pulling into the spine. Maybe you're balancing. Reaching a little longer from the top of the head out that right heel. And then bending the left knee, bringing the right leg under into Namaste and Vinyasa with the left leg cross over. And we'll twist to the left. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale and twist. And back to the front. Disentangling the legs, coming up into forward bend. And then a concave back, holding over. This time we'll come up to standing. And coming up, big front body yawn. And around to Namaste in front. All right, and then we're going to take, actually we're going to go to Utkatasana, keeping the hands in Namaste here as we start. So it's all about the hips hinging back. It's not about the knees bending forward. So the hips pull back, top of the head reaches forward, hinging back. Then notice if you're kind of splatting in the middle, pulling the belly and the ribs up into the spine. And then we'll reach through the fingertips, reaching the arms forward. Two long parallel lines. So sometimes we get distracted with the reach of the arms here, and really the strength is the reach from the center, the tailbone to the top of the head. And let's twist to the right, wide arms. And then reaching that right arm over the ear and kind of a side bend, maybe contract a little up into it. And then swooping your right arm all the way back around to bring you back to Utkatasana in the front. And then we'll go to the left, twisting to the left, wide arms. And reaching that left arm over the ear. We'll be taking a little contractee up into it. And then lengthening out, big reach around with the left arm, coming back to the center. And we do have a strong reach from the arms, but make sure you've got a strong reach in the center as well. And releasing over. Concave back, folding over. Vinyasa, downward facing dog. Or you can put child's pose in here, or any other kind of momentary restful and reset position. Maybe like me, it's sometimes hanging out here, and up dog, another breath or two. And then we'll all meet up in downward facing dog. All right, let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. We're going to do 2 lower end lifts this time. Reaching the right leg down, big toe to the left heel. reaching back up. And again, legs get longer, legs get longer. Bending the knee dog at the high fire height. And through to the lunge. And then we'll come up in the high lunge or the warrior one. I'll be doing the warrior one today with the back foot grounded down. There's our circle of breath. Let's breathe the arms around. And then we'll breathe them around once again. And back up overhead. And namaste in front. And then reaching on a long diagonal forward. Pulling that crease of the right hip joint a little back, belly and ribs against the spine. Long line from the top of the head to the left heel. And then we'll add the arms, reaching the arms into long diagonals by your ears. And we're going to the warrior three once again, maybe balancing, maybe using the blocks, maybe some combination. That same strength and long reach from the tailbone to the top of the head here, as well as out the left heel. And this time we're going into the standing split from here. Lift your left leg a little higher, letting the torso pour over. So depending on your flexibility, there might not be a big change in the shape on the outside, but a big change on the intention on the inside. And it can always be a two-legged forward bend if needed. One more breath. And then the big step back to the lunge and turning to the elephant rider. So we're going to be going to the low side lunge on the left leg. So maybe grabbing one of your blocks if you want. There's the sitting on the floor version. And then we'll slide over toward the left leg a little. And then going down. Pivot up onto the right heel. Let that right leg adjust as needed. Let your idea of where the front is adjust as needed. Sometimes all we need to do is stop thinking about being square to the horizontal side of the mat and say, oh, look, I'm actually kind of facing a diagonal here because my legs do not extend at 180 degrees to the side. All right, here we are somewhere. And then expanding the arms, making a twist to the right. And then sort of like what we did Utkatasana, bringing that right arm over the ear into a side bend, reaching toward the back of the neck. And a big reach around, back to Namaste. Take a breath. Coming up in the wide leg forward. And breathing here. And then turning to the right lunge to the front of the mat again. And stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa. Maybe 3 or 4 vinyasas if you want. Maybe a lingering up dog. Maybe a child's. And in the next few breaths, we will all meet up in downward facing dog. All right, here we go. Around with the left side, lifting the left leg up. And then 2 lower and lifts here, reaching down with the left big toe, reaching back, and doing that again. Bending the knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge. Coming up in either the high lunge or the warrior one. And connecting into the circle of breath, we'll breathe the arms around. And then once more. And namaste and and then like we've done in the Utkatasana, finding the diagonal forward. So it's not a down and over. It's a reach forward from the tailbone out the top of the head, and then connecting that reach back through the right heel as well. Belly and ribs up against the spine. And then reaching the arms forward on that long diagonal, upper arms by the ears. And then we're going to come up in the warrior 3 again, maybe balancing, maybe using your support again. And then really feeling that line from the tailbone to the top of the head and connecting it back through the right heel. And then we'll take it into the standing split, lifting the right leg a little more, and then letting the torso pour down and over. Big shift in intention. One more breath. Big step back into the lunge, turning to the elephant rider. Taking a few breaths here. So the wider your elephant rider is for this, the easier I think it is to get into the low side lunge. And the narrower or more centered elephant rider works better if we're going to come up and around into the goddess pose or the temple pose, but for this, the wider is better. As we shift over toward our right leg and coming down, maybe you've got your block there, or you're going to sit on the floor. Letting the left leg adjust as needed, or letting your front of the body adjust as needed. Wedging the right arm into the leg. Skandasana. It's another name And expanding the arms out, twisting to the left. And reaching that left arm over the ear, a little side bend. And reaching that left arm around back to Namaste. And coming up in the wide leg forward bend. Letting that exhale really slow down and be longer and deeper. And coming up to standing here in the wide legs. Big front body yawn. And around to Namaste. All right, and then thinking about where your right leg is at this point. So I'm going to be doing my real right leg. It's probably, your right leg's probably the leg toward the back of the mat. Rotating your right leg out 90 degrees, expand the arms out parallel to the floor and into the warrior two, reaching from the inner thigh to the inner knee to the center of the, and then reach back through the left side. And then let's breathe our arms up overhead, still in the warrior two, bringing the hands down the center line into Namaste. And so similar to what we were doing, moving into the warrior one, come over into a sort of side angle on a long diagonal. So your elbow might or might not touch that right knee. And you feel the center line, the tailbone to the top of the head. If you want to make it more challenging, you can reach both arms on the diagonal. Maybe let that right arm come down onto the leg and just reach the left arm on the diagonal. You can go lower, taking the right hand to the floor if you. And now we've got lots of reach through the left arm or maybe both arms, but still the strength is in that center, tailbone to the top of the head, connecting it back to the left foot. And then we'll come up, straightening the right leg. Inhale and exhale all the way back up. Turning the feet to parallel. Maybe bring your arms down for a moment. Breathing. All right, and then here we go. Rotating the left leg out 90 degrees. Arms parallel to the floor. Warrior two. Inner thigh to inner knee to center of the foot. And then breathing the arms up the center line and coming down. Namaste in front. Take a moment, really feeling that tailbone to top of the head. And then it's not a side bend, a dip over. It's a reach out through the top of the head in a sideways direction. And your elbow might or might not touch your left thigh. And then reaching from the tailbone to the top of the head. Connecting that back into your right foot. And maybe reaching both arms forward, or maybe just the right arm and letting the left come onto the left leg, or maybe to the floor in front or behind. Wherever you're putting that left arm, try to keep the left ribs over the thigh, not coming too far forward in front of the left thigh. And then there's our long reach, tailbone out the top of the head. Connecting back into the right foot. And then there's a long reach through the right fingertips as well. But supported by that strength from the center. And then we'll come up, straightening the left leg. Inhale and exhale. Yeah. Feet to parallel. Big front body yawn up. And coming forward and maybe using the block for the hands to make this a little more easeful. And then we'll turn to the left lunge, the front of the mat where we came from. Stepping back to the plank. Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then once we're in downward facing dog, we'll take 3 deep breaths in downward facing dog. And then we will meet up in child's pose. And if you're not there already, making your way to child's. And then coming up and simplified Virasana here at the back of the mat. And then we will ascend up onto our knees and coming up. So using as much help as you need or want from the arms, or making it as challenging for the legs and the gluteus maximus as you want. And then coming up and over, bringing the hands to the sacrum this first time. Easing yourself into the back bend. Make sure you didn't throw your head back too far. And then up. Reaching the arms back up and we will descend. Simplified Virasana. Inhale and exhale here with your body and your breath. And then ascending once more. All right, and this time we're going to take just the right arm, thinking of the left arm staying to the ceiling. It might go back a little, but staying, reaching up, and a big lift up, and we'll bring that right arm around. So maybe onto the sacrum is where it goes. So be careful here because we've got a little twist in this. You can potentially strain your back here with a twist. Or maybe that right hand can reach the right ankle. And then we'll come back up. Lots of strength. And then we'll go to the other side. Lifting up, bringing the left arm back, maybe on the sacrum. So this looks like this should be the easier version because we just have one arm. But like I said, it can actually be a lot more challenging for our back because we've got this little twist. We're asking the left side to bend a little more. Maybe that left hand can reach the heel. And then coming up, inhale and exhale. And descending, really pulling the belly back into the spine. And putting the hands on the floor there. Couple little micro cats and cows. And then we'll come forward onto our stomach into the Sphinx. Pulling with the elbows and hands, evening out the sides of the back. Even though we're still doing a back bend here, sometimes a less aggressive back bend or less aggressive version of whatever you're doing can make a good sort of counter pose. Not exactly counter, but a good way to ease things out. And then coming down, and we'll Salabhasana, interlocking the fingers, rolling the shoulders out, reaching through the toes and lifting. And then slowly release the hands, palms face the ceiling. And coming down. And we will be making our way back to downward facing dog. Cat and cow ripples. Maybe a child's pose. So in the next section, we're actually going to add a few more things to our sort of lunge and warrior three pattern. So if you are not feeling up for adding more, you can just keep it simple. Don't add in the moreness. All right. So sometimes in kind of a funny way, the more details can make it easier because our mind has to focus a little more on what we're doing, less chance to kind of tense up and get distracted or start pushing too hard. Meanwhile, let's come up and downward facing dog, going through a vinyasa or not. And here we are, lifting the right leg up. So we're going to do 3 lower end lifts here, or maybe you're going to do 1. Reaching the leg down, reaching the leg up, and twice more. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant, through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior 1 or the high lunge. I'm going to take 2 times around with the arms. Inhale and exhale, breathing them around and all the way back up overhead. And again, like that. And then the right arm alone is going to go for the left leg, swirling around. And then bringing the right hand back up to meet the left. Namaste. Reaching on the long diagonal, feeling that from the tailbone to the top of the head, back to the left foot. Reaching the arms forward on the diagonal, and then up to the warrior 3, balancing, supported, some combination thereof. Standing split, lifting that left leg a little higher, or down through the top of the head. And then maybe doing some jiva squats here. Big inhale and exhale, bending the right knee, squeezing the left behind, and expanding back up. And maybe 3 or 4 more. And when we've done enough of that, which may have been a while ago, we're going to bend the right knee, take the left leg under to come down. So we'll go through Matsyasana, but then just pull that right leg in front and down so we're in nice Sukhasana. Inhale and exhale and coming forward. And then coming up. All right, coming up in the forward bend. And we will be making our way back to downward facing dog. With a concave back, inhale and exhale. Vinyasa, downward facing dog. Whatever little pause you need to take along the way. And then at some point we'll all be in downward facing dog, but you more or less know what we're doing. So if you're not at the same timing where I'm talking, it should be all right as we lift our left leg up. And then 3 times lower and lift. Inhaling and exhale. And lift. And lower. And once more. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrants. And through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior one or the high lunge. And breathing those arms around twice, all the way around both arms. And then just the left arm with that swirl around, reaching for the right. Bringing the left hand back up to meet the right. Namaste in front. Reaching on that long diagonal. Tailbone to the top of the head, belly, ribs to the spine. Reaching through the right heel. And extending the arms forward on a long diagonal. And up to the warrior 3. And then into the standing split lift in that right leg. And then Jiva squat, inhale, and exhale, squeezing 3 or 4 or a number of your choice more times. And then we will finish that. And bringing that right leg down and under, going through Matsyendrasana to get to the floor, however you're getting there. And then just bring that left leg forward into Sukhasana. Inhale and exhale, rising. And coming forward and then coming up, unfurling the spine. Now, time of several options. There's always lots of options. All right, so first option could be going right to Shavasana right now. Number 2 is going down to the floor and doing a figure 4. or staying here sitting, and we will do the box pose, or you could repeat Sukhasana if you want. So if you're doing the box pose, let me get forward here. You don't want your foot in the crease of the leg folded in there, pushing it over. So it's the same sort of idea as when we're doing figure 4 on lying down on the floor, where we've got that ankle across and held by the thigh bone and the pressing out through the heel. All right, or the lying down version. So here we are with one leg or another on top. Taking a big inhale and exhale, either rounding over towards your legs or pulling the legs in toward you. And then coming up, we're setting the legs down and we will switch legs. And then as you're ready, coming forward or pulling the legs toward you. And then up, putting the legs down, and we will all make our way to Shavasana. As so often happens, there's not a lot of time left on the clock, but you can stay here as long as you like. Inhale and exhale. Long, long, long breaths, feeling every moment. Expanding time, and then letting yourself expand into that. So much space. And then breathing back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, getting the circulation going. Stretching the arms up overhead. Bending the knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with a long and spacious spine. Taking another moment, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.